Hello again, wonderful scholars. Today we're going to be focusing on doing the details of the buildings. We're going to add doors, we're going to add windows, we're going to add signs, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that on this lesson. Okay, so we're going to continue this drawing part 2. First things first, for the doors, let's start with the doors first. First thing that we're going to do is follow these lines. So remember, if this line is vertical right here, and this line is vertical right here, our door is also going to be vertical. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make one vertical line. The bottom is already connected to the vanishing point because we have this line. So this, the top of the line, I'm going to connect that to the vanishing point. Now I'm going to do it very, very light so that I can erase it easily. And then if this is vertical, then this line has to be vertical. Once we have that, all we have to do is make sure that this line is a little bit darker. And if you want to make double doors, then all you would have to do is add another line right there. Easy peasy, right? So if you want to add little doorknobs, you can just do 2 little dots, whatever you want. If you want to make your little doorknobs in perspective, look at this. You can even go ahead and do that in perspective. Okay. Same thing for the windows. For the windows, if your wall is in perspective, then your windows have to be in perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make 2 windows right here. I'm going to start with one line. Okay, so remember, you always start with the line. Since right here, we don't have this bottom line, we're going to connect the top and the bottom of the line to the vanishing point. So I'm going to connect it. And I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to connect it from this bottom point to the vanishing point. And if this is vertical, remember, this line has to also end vertical. And I'm going to go ahead and make another line in the middle. And I'm going to make sure that the line that I want to add in the middle has to still be connected to that vanishing point. So there we have windows. See that? Now, if you want to make windows on this side of the buildings, on the original shapes that you started with, you do not have to worry about making them in perspective, because since it's facing you, then you don't have to worry about going towards the vanishing point. Remember, the only doors and windows that have to be aligned or going towards the vanishing points are the ones that are already going this direction. If you're going to add something to your original shapes, it does not have to be in perspective. So if I wanted to do some windows here, since this wall is facing us directly, then all I would do would be a rectangle. So I would follow this right here. And then this would be the windows on this side. If I wanted to do a little door right here on the side, then this does not have to be in perspective because, again, it is our original shape. It's facing us. So it does not have to be in perspective. Okay, so this does not have to be in perspective. Only the lines are already connected to the vanishing point. I'm going to do the same thing here. Remember, if you want to make a door that's not just, lines, you can always just start off by making a line right here and a line right here. Remember, because it has to be vertical to this and to this. And if you want to make this door in perspective, you can. You make a line right here. You find the middle. And then all you would do, if you want to make something like this, you can still connect the top of this line to that vanishing point, and then just add a little extra something right there. If you want to add maybe something that pops out, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Or maybe a window that kind of goes inwards. I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So again, we're going to start off with just, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. If you want to go ahead and draw a window, I'm just going to go ahead and do a little line. Okay, remember, the top and the bottom have to connect to the vanishing point. If this line right here is vertical, then this line right here has to be vertical. Now, if you want to see the inside of the, the window, or maybe you want to show the depth of the wall, then right here in this corner, we're going to make a horizontal line. So you see this line right here? This horizontal line? I'm going to make a tiny little line right here that is horizontal. You see that? And if this line is, again, vertical, then this line is going to be vertical. I recommend that you use your ruler. Then this little corner right there, you connect that little corner to the vanishing point. And there you can see the thickness of that wall. If you don't want to do your windows like this, you don't have to. Easiest and fastest way is to just do it like this. But if you want to go that extra mile, then you can. It's up to you. For the taller buildings, it's a little bit more simple. You don't really have to do as much detail if you don't want to. For this one, I would recommend either using your ruler and either maybe doing like half an inch or a few centimeters here and there, but measure your lines, because sometimes the windows come out really big on some sides and then on some sides they come really small, and it doesn't really make any sense. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to draw little dots to tell me where I am supposed to connect my vanishing points to. So now that I have my little dots, I'm going to connect my little dots to that vanishing point. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. One, and I'm not going to do my line all the way. I'm just going to stop where my building is so that I won't erase. Notice how I'm connecting from the little dots that I just drew to that vanishing point. And the little dots that I drew are about the same distance. If you would prefer to use a ruler, you are welcome to use your ruler to draw your little dots, but you don't really have to. Like I said, if you can kind of guess where it is, then just guess. You see how this is a little bit bigger? So maybe right here I could do the door. So if this is vertical, then my door has to be vertical. See that? My little doorknobs have to be connected to that vanishing point. Okay. Now, remember, since this was our original shape, the rectangle, we don't have to make this in perspective. So wherever I see my lines, that's the kind of lines that I'm going to make here. So if this is horizontal, my lines here have to be horizontal. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my lines from where I have my dots. And there I have one building. You could color this building however you want, black and white, with pencil. You know, I'll go over the shading techniques later, and I'm gonna use one side just pencil, and then the other side I'm gonna use color so you can see the difference. Now, if you want to do your you know, your windows a little bit different, you can. If you want to do circles, you can. So again, first, once I have my building, I'm going to go ahead and do little dots to kind of see, you know, to give it the same amount of distance so that I won't have really, really tall windows and then really, really small ones. So what I'm going to do again is if I'm doing the tall buildings, most buildings look like this. The corners, the edges, the little dots are going to be connected to the vanishing point. And like I said, most tall buildings, they look like this. You don't see a lot of these windows, but if you really want to do those kinds of windows, you can. I'm going to show you a creative way to make different kinds of windows. So I'm doing the same thing that I did right here. Right here, since this is my original shape, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the lines that are horizontal and parallel to this one. So if this line is horizontal, then these have to be horizontal. So just remember, don't get confused. Pay attention to your shapes. Any building, the original shapes that you started with, they're going to be horizontal or vertical. You just follow along the original shape. If one of your walls, if the walls of your building is connected to this vanishing point, if your lines are going towards the vanishing point, then that means that all of your windows have to go towards the vanishing point. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Right here, I'm going to make it up because I can't really see. This is what I was talking about. This one looks really small, so I'm just going to erase it. Okay. Like I said, if you want to be creative, just remember, anything that is closer to us is going to be bigger. Anything that is far, far away or further away, it's going to be smaller. So right here, I'm gonna leave a little space. I'm doing the little dots, but as my windows are getting further and further away, they're gonna get smaller. So right here, I'm gonna make vertical. So if this line right here is vertical, and this line is vertical, then these lines are going to be vertical. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make a line. I'm gonna make another line right here, vertical. And as I'm going towards the left, my lines are going to get closer and closer to each other. You see that? So the lines here, and if I wanted to add another line, maybe I can. So you can see a little bit more of the depth. You see how my lines here are going close, they're closer to each other, and right here they're further away? Because remember, when it's going further towards the vanishing point, your shapes, everything has to become smaller. Just like right here, when your lines are going towards the vanishing point, there's more space here, and then there's less space here. On this side, since it's facing us, then you don't have to worry about leaving more space and then reducing the space. You can just go ahead and make your windows right here. You don't have to worry about leaving less space. Now for this one, we're going to add windows, but we're going to do them a little bit different. Again, we're going to start off by aligning our lines. So remember, if these lines are horizontal, then these lines are going to be horizontal. If this wall is going towards the vanishing point, then all of these points are going to connect to that vanishing point. So from little dot to vanishing point, from dot to vanishing point, and then you just repeat the process over and over again. And sometimes I notice that I do my lines a little bit, you see? So if you want to use a ruler to measure, that's fine. Oh, I just noticed that this corner wasn't even connected to the vanishing point. Did I see that? Look at this. I'm gonna make this a little bit, this building a little bit longer because it looks like this building is floating. So I'm gonna make this a bit longer. There you go, that makes a little bit more sense now. So if your building looks like it's floating, then just add another line at the bottom, make it longer so that it won't look like a floating building. And then these lines have to be horizontal. So again, you can follow along and you can do what I'm doing. If you want to make your own shapes, if you want to do your own windows, you can. Don't feel forced to make your windows just lines and squares. Like if you don't want to just make them look like this. If you want to get more creative with it, you can. In the past, I've had students that have made windows with just little circles, or they've made murals on their buildings. So if you're like, Miss, I don't know what else to add to make it, related to my theme, you can just go ahead and make a mural on one of the walls. So instead of adding windows on this side, you could just draw something or trace something from the bottom, whatever you prefer. And you could say like, oh, that building has a mural. So, simple, easy, fast. So what I'm gonna do right here, if you want to make, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna make a line in the middle. And I'm going to make a line in the middle. I'm going to make another line right here. Another line right here. So we're basically doing the same thing as we did here. A line right here. And again, if you don't want it to just be squares, what you can do is you can do little circles inside. Obviously, when you get here to this side, your circles have to be bigger. So just make sure that your circles are touching the edges. Why do you think that I told you guys that drawing the small little houses and leaving more space, it's easier because it's less detail, less overlapping, and just less work in general. But it does look really nice when your buildings are big. Look at that. So if you don't want to have your buildings just lines and squares, you can just, go ahead and add circles. And I'm kind of getting tired of these circles. They're not coming out perfect. It's not a big deal. You can fix that when you start adding color or when you start adding shading. So these are 3 different ways that you can do the buildings or the windows of the buildings. And like I said, right here, if you don't want your buildings to just look regular and plain, right here on the side of the wall, you can even go ahead and draw something. Maybe you can go ahead and draw like a mural with like, with some words. I don't know, let me see. Love yourself. I don't know. So let's imagine that there's a mural right here. Bloom. Bloom and love yourself. And then right here, more flowers. So one of your walls could have, you know, a mural. Right here, you can go ahead and draw the door. Remember, you start off with one line. You connect the top of that line to the vanishing point. And then you just make, if this line is vertical, this line has to be vertical. Okay. Next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing on the signs. In order for you to make a sign, you can do it both ways. There's an easy way, and then there's the way that you can do it using the 1-point perspective. I'm going to show you both ways right now. And I'm going to go back to the original drawing that I started with. So pay attention to this next part. Give me 1 second. I always have a hard time finding this page. So again, if you want to have words on top, like in your buildings, on, you know, on the walls, or if you want to have signs like this, even your signs have to be in perspective, okay? So if you do not want your sign to be in perspective, then you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do the sign right here in perspective. So all I'm going to do is a little circle. That's going to be the bottom of the pole. I'm going to make a flag right here, okay? So that it could look kind of like a school. So this could be a school. Or a little shop. I don't know. And I'm going to make sure that the top of my flag, you see how it's in perspective? Now that looks like a really, really stiff flag. So if you want to go ahead and do like a wave right here, you can do a wave like that, but it still has to be in perspective. And then you just erase your original lines. Yeah. If you want to make a sign that is in perspective as well, then we do the same thing. We're going to, actually, I'm going to do a sign that is not in perspective, just so that I could, you know, vary it a little bit. I'm going to make two little stands. And I'm going to make this one is not going to be in perspective, okay? So this one is going to be facing the cars. So the people that are driving this way will be able to see this flag or this sign. So right here on this sign, we're going to draw a hand hug. If you want to make the little edges in perspective, you can. So this corner and this corner, you could connect it to the vanishing point. And then this corner, you could connect it to the vanishing point, even though you could barely see it. And then you just close the lines. So then the sign is not in perspective. Should have zoomed it in earlier. Again, the sign is not in perspective because it's facing the viewer, but the little corners or the little edges are connected to the vanishing point. So it's just a little thin sign. Now, if you want to make a sign that is connected towards the vanishing point and you want to make it larger, then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a line like this in perspective so that I could see where the lines are going to go. And I'm going to make two vertical lines. the top of that has to be in perspective. And then the bottom of that sign has to be in perspective as well. So again, all you have to do is one line, and then you connect the top and the bottom to the vanishing point. So we did that, connected to the vanishing point, connected to the vanishing point. I didn't do it all the way, I just did it to right there. And then since I know that it ends here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna make my little sign a little bit darker. And if you don't wanna make signs, you don't have to. This is not mandatory. This is optional. You can erase this line, you don't need it anymore. And then you can see the thickness of the sign. So right here, if I wanted to write the word hi, even the word hi would have to be in perspective. So I'm gonna make a line right here on the top and a line right here at the bottom. Remember when we did the name in 1 point perspective? We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna write the word hi. We're gonna make the bubbly letters. So I'm gonna make my H. Notice how the H, even the H is in perspective. You see that bottom of the H? I'm gonna make it in perspective. And then the top part of the I has to be in perspective as well. You see that? So it says hi. Now, if you want to do it a little bit different, you can. I'm going to make another sign right here. I'm going to make it taller, just to vary it a little bit. And right here, I'm going to make sure, so this is just going to be one regular sign connected to the vanishing point. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the line. So remember, this is going to be a line. Connect the bottom of the line to the vanishing point. I'm making it bigger, okay? I don't think there's a sign that's actually this massive on top of a house, but just for the sake of this lesson so you can see. Connect the top to the bottom, to the vanishing point, sorry. And if this line is vertical, then this line is going to be vertical. And like I said, you can just go ahead and make two lines. One line here, one line here, so that you can know where the top and the bottom of your words will be. And if you just want to write the word, let's say love, you could do the L, the O, the V, and then if this line is vertical, this line has to be vertical. And then the top is already connected towards the vanishing point, the bottom is already connected to the vanishing point, and the middle of the E has to be connected to the vanishing point as well. See that? So if you don't want to make your letters bubbly, you don't have to. You can just write the words, but just make sure that your words are in perspective. So remember, start with the top line and the bottom line, kind of like when we did the name in perspective. The top and the bottom so that we can know where it starts and where it ends. Once you don't need those lines, you can just erase them. And no one will ever know you ever had them there. So there you have it. The word love, a hand hug, and hi. If you do not want to make signs and banners, you're like, no, that is too much, then you can just go ahead and right here, let's say this was a shop, a yarn shop or something. I don't know. I'm just gonna go ahead and make 2 lines. Or, like I said, you can always just start with 1 line and connect the top and the bottom to the vanishing point, and then just make sure that this line right here is vertical. And you could write yarn. So remember, if this line is vertical, make sure that this line is vertical. Yarn. Okay, so if you don't want to make signs, or if you want to make a large donut, or if you want to make something, you can always add these little poles and do whatever you want on the top. If you're like, nope, that's too much, then you could just stick to doing words in perspective like this. You don't even have to make them bubbly if you don't want to. And right here, again, if you don't want to make windows in perspective, or if you just don't want to do anything on this side, you can just go ahead and draw like, you know, a yarn ball and like a cat. Oh, look, this is kind of like the shape of the cat. I just realized. Kind of like it was the ears. The cat is playing with the yarn. Like I don't know. The yarn is going all over the place. So you can make a mural of whatever you want right here to represent that this store is a yarn store. So this is a line, this is a line, this is vertical. The top of that vertical line is going to be connected to the vanishing point. If this is vertical, and there we have a door. You want to make your little doorknobs in perspective, you can just do 2 little points like this, and even your little doorknobs are in perspective. Okay, so that's that. Now, if you want to add trees, you can even make your trees in perspective. So let's go ahead and add some trees right here so that it won't look so empty. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line all the way, but it's going to be kind of light, okay? Right here, if you want to make a tree that's far, far away, you can just do 1 vertical line. Right here, your tree is getting closer. Right here, your tree is... Maybe I should have done the trees a little bit bigger, huh? If you want to make your trees bigger, I'm going to make my line a little bit more wide. So from the bottom of that line, I'm going to go ahead and make a tree. Right here, another tree. Right here, the bottom of this line is going to be the bottom of my tree, and the top of this line is going to be the top of my tree. Remember, anything that is far, far away is supposed to be smaller. Anything that is coming closer to us is supposed to be bigger. And right here, we can go ahead and have a bigger tree with more detail. And you can even go on top of the buildings, it doesn't matter. Since this is in the front, you erase anything inside, and there you have it. You have a lot of trees. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and draw a little bench right here. So how do the benches look like from the side? They look something like this. So remember, when we're drawing in perspective, all we have to do is draw how the shape looks like from the side. So right now, I'm drawing those bus benches, you know, the ones, the cement ones. So they just look like this, right? Those benches are very simple. It's just a rectangle, another rectangle, another rectangle. You can even just do rectangles if this is too hard for you. And all we have to do is connect those corners to the vanishing point. So So I'm going to connect this corner to the vanishing point. I'm not going to go all the way because I don't want to erase. And even this corner right here, connected to the vanishing point. Now, if you wanted to do a really, really small chair or a really, really small bench, you would close the edges. So if this is horizontal, this would be horizontal. If this is vertical, this is vertical. If this is horizontal, this is horizontal. And if this is vertical, this is vertical. But that looks like a really, really small bench. So I want to make my bench much, much longer, much, much wider for more people to sit down. So if this is horizontal, this is going to be horizontal. If this is vertical right here, this is going to be vertical. If this is horizontal, this is horizontal. And if this is vertical, please, please, please use your ruler. If you feel like you're not going to get it, then this is going to be vertical. I'm going to make my bench a little bit darker so that you can see it a little bit better. There we have a bench in perspective. So now your little people that you're going to be drawing later on could wait for the bus. Okay? Now we're going to focus on the road. I'm going to make the road a little bit darker. And I'm just going to do the sidewalk. So remember that I said anything that is closer to us is bigger, anything that is far away it's smaller. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to make my sidewalk, my squares, I'm going to make them pretty big. They're probably not this big in real life, this wide. But for the sake of this lesson, we're going to play around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, actually, if it's better for you to see it with the dot, I'm going to do the same thing that I did right here. So remember, a lot of students, they just do their lines like this, but then that doesn't really look like the sidewalk. Remember, if our paper is, if we have a horizontal line right here, then our lines have to be horizontal as well. So what I'm going to do, if you want to measure, you can, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing little dots. And those little dots are going to get closer and closer and closer towards the end. So that means that your little sidewalks are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because we have to show depth. So we have to show like, oh, it's going far away. You can barely see it. Right? So I'm going to make my line right here. And please, please, please use a ruler. Because sometimes I try to do this without using a ruler. I kind of missed a few points right there. I try to do this without using a ruler and then they become all crooked. I skipped a few points because I know I kind of saw that it was off. So notice how we started off with the bigger shape, and as we're going back, my shapes are getting smaller and closer to each other. From right here on, and I'm just going to go ahead and do my own lines because I think I kind of got the hang of it. But my lines are still going to be horizontal. You see how they're closer to each other? So right here, I'm going to do the same thing. This is Miss Albarran not being patient. So you see how right here, our sidewalk is the shapes are much bigger, much wider. And as we go far away, they start getting small, like the trees. And that's that for today, you guys. So today we learned how to make windows, how to make doors, how to add trees in perspective just by changing the size, by using the element of space. You guys learned how to make a flag, how to make 3 different signs, one sign without it being bubbly letters, one sign in bubbly letters, one hand hug, one sign that is not in perspective, murals, and the name of the store in perspective. So I hope that this video was useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just remember that you can always send me a message on Instagram. You could send me an email, or you could just, let me know in class that you need extra help, and it will be my absolute pleasure to help you. So hand hug, you guys. You guys are doing awesome. You guys got this. Don't get frustrated. Hand hug, you guys. Have a good day. Goodbye.